So I'm sure you're aware, we are currently engulfed in one of the worst economic events in the history of mankind. This economic calamity is essentially due to the mandated shutdowns and quarantines, essentially house arrests of millions of people around the globe, and more importantly, the shuttering of their businesses, as well as the breakup of supply chains and the fluctuations of natural resource prices. The economy in general is just an absolute mess. What is the way forward? How can we overcome this quagmire? What will the economy look like after this? We're going to explore all that in BTP Fusion, so be sure to click the like button for the YouTube algorithm. And don't forget to drop a comment on what you think the new way forward will be. And with that, let's get into the video. What's up, you guys? You're watching BTP Fusion. I'm your host, Derek West. Here in BTP Fusion, it's our mission to inspire you to take imperfect action on your business and finance using the power of technology. Frankly, in times like these, we need positive messages now more than ever. But like I said, the economy is an absolute mess. I'm sure you're all aware. It seems like every week another 5 million people request unemployment insurance here in the US. It's been 3 weeks or so since those numbers have been reported, and seemingly this indicates that the numbers of unemployed workers who are willing to work is currently exceeding 20 plus million. Now, as you might imagine, those numbers are massive, but that doesn't appear to be the worst of it yet. It would seem that even with the bailout funds that were passed recently, that there simply isn't enough bailout money to last through this entire crisis. Currently in Washington, D.C., after bailout funding has been passed, people are arguing over what is the right level of funding to pass for small business loans. There are obviously two sides to this argument about what the right thing to do is. One, pass more funds so that businesses can get the loans that they need to make it through the self-imposed shutdown of the country and their businesses. Or, don't pass more funding, as it isn't needed or the data isn't showing that it's needed. However, to me, the argument is missing the forest for the trees. There is something deeply rotten with the economy, something that can't be papered over with more bailout funds. One could argue with more bailout funds that you generate, even if there are loans that must be paid back, the more you risk a terrible economic situation that I have coined hyper-stagflation, a condition similar to the period of stagflation in the United States in the mid to late 1970s. You see, prior to that time, it was thought that inflation only ran rampant when employment was high, as in the periods during World War I and II, when employment levels were buoyant, as were levels of spending on the economy. But at those times, inflation was also high. But what the 70s taught us is that employment can be high as well as inflation. Well, with all these bailouts coming one after the other in various phases, this could herald a time of high inflation. Some speculate hyperinflation, along with very high levels of unemployment. If there continue to be weekly reports of 5+ million people needing unemployment insurance, then you can bet that by midsummer, unemployment rates will rocket past 30%. You can take that to the bank and smoke it, or whatever. But with all these bailouts in various phases, what will also likely occur is more money chasing the same number of goods, or even shrinking numbers of goods. Since fewer and fewer businesses will be producing anything, which, like I said, will lead to high inflation and possibly hyperinflation. This, combined with high, and I mean really high, unemployment will lead to hyper-stagflation. By the way, since I coined the term, I get to define it. Hyper-stagflation is any period of time when in the economy you have a condition of very high unemployment and very high inflation. I have a whole video coming out on the topic, so like and subscribe, plus hit the notification bell so you can watch it when it first drops. The question is though, how do we get out of this mess? I could talk about the decisions that were made that got us into this quagmire. I could have told you back in February when all the talks of house arrest first started that would not be a good thing for this economy. I mean, it's not like that's profound or anything, but it certainly hasn't been a good thing. At the time, a lot of people were wondering what would be the cause of the next big recession. Well, wonder no more. The cause of this current recession/depression is the stay-at-home orders and house arrest orders issued by various governments around the country and around the globe. To me, I think they were in a rock and a hard place sort of situation. The scary numbers at the time of possible sick and dying people due to the virus simply meant that authorities had to act, and their actions caused our current situation. The past is the past, though. What about the future? Is there a way out of this mess? Can you restart the economy and get it performing anywhere near the levels that it once performed at? Will this newly restarted economy ever look the same again? Feel free to add a comment with your thoughts, but to answer the last question first, no. Unfortunately, the economy will not ever look the same as it did before this calamity. That isn't necessarily a profound statement either. or even necessarily a bad thing. The economy, like the human it is an aggregation of, is always changing, evolving, becoming either better or worse, depending on the habits and patterns it contains. Let's think about it for a second. If you as a person maintain good monthly, weekly, daily, hourly habits, you can begin to aggregate wins, little wins, and compound positive things happening in your life, similar to the concept of compound interest. A couple of quick examples for you. If you invest a portion of your income monthly, a large portion, and you take it seriously, there's a very large likelihood that you will become wealthy, and wealthy rapidly. I've talked about this before in different videos, but if you find a way to invest more than half of your income, depending on what your level of income is, it is possible that if you just invest in index funds, you can become a millionaire in less than 20 years. The math is there. I did a video on it. Like and subscribe. But an even more basic example would be daily habits. If you wake up early every day, and with that time, study new ways to improve yourself, whether it be through daily exercise, daily meditation, and or religious study, daily study of markets to figure out where your investment dollars will go, you will, without fail, be on the pathway to living your best life. It's why I talk about the order of operations of wealth creation. Each of the components, getting a skill, saving to invest, investing without ceasing, requires constant daily practice and constant attention to truly reap the benefits. It's true in the opposite sense as well. If you spend every dollar you get the second you get it, you'll never achieve wealth or financial freedom of any sort. That is assuming the thing you're spending on is not investments, or even something as simple as just saving your money but not investing it. Those sorts of decisions will compound, but they'll compound negatively, adding up to unmet expectations and dreams. To harp on this point a little bit more, even something like sleeping in late can compound negatively on your life. And no, I don't mean occasionally sleeping in or sleeping in on the weekends, but if you chronically wake up late every day, you'll always find that you never have enough time. And you'll find you're always running behind on lots of important events, including things that affect your bottom line and your life. For example, if you show up late to your job every day, that eventually will compound to the point that you may face disciplinary action, including losing your job. Or it could get to the point where you're not in a position to make more money at your job, leading you to not maximizing your first income flow, which is key to being able to grow a second flow of income. But that same principle applies to aggregates of human activity as well, including the overall general economy. The economic habits of entire countries can compound both positively and negatively. For example, if your economy is in the habit of allowing enormous bailouts to individuals and companies whenever there's a bump in the road, then sure, for the time being, everyone remains comfortable. I mean, heaven forbid anybody be uncomfortable, am I right? If that is the case, however, and your policymakers state that your companies and individuals will be getting bailed out whenever they run into tough times, that in turn has an effect on the economy in the future. People will all of a sudden become less careful with the economic decisions that they make. Instead of saving and investing for the future, people then spend every dime that they get the second that they get it, simply because they know that they'll get bailed out whenever times get tough. Seems like a good thing, and maybe it is, but that means in general, less money available for saving and investing, meaning less new technology, new techniques, and procedures that move the economy forward. Its own specific type of stagnation. It would seem that there are plans in place to begin slowly opening up the economy based on flattened curves in various regions around the globe. House arrest orders will slowly but surely get lifted across the world as various politicians at certain levels allow people to resume their lives as normal and live them as they once lived them, free to go to the gym whenever they please. The problem is, though, the economy that will emerge will likely be less robust than the one that we entered into this lockdown mode with. More than likely, there will be less demand for certain goods and services, particularly for travel and restaurants, things like that. Airlines, travel companies, Expedia, etc. are likely to consolidate as the business is likely just not going to be there anymore. Things like restaurants and the businesses that service them are also likely to contract and consolidate as well, for the same reason. Expect massive drops in the price and value of commercial real estate across the globe. Honestly, people have been predicting that for a long time. But this lockdown is probably the biggest catalyst for that. Places like malls, restaurants, and other places of gatherings will be devastated. The general populace, now deathly afraid of approaching one another, probably will not congregate together the way they once did. Think about your favorite amusement parks, concert halls, arenas, places that the public may not flock to as they once did. Places where people love to go to in the past, where the demand simply may not be there once all this is over. Consider skyscrapers and office parks. They'll be hard hit as well. This is because companies that are currently allowing their folks to work from home will realize that, hey, we no longer have to pay for expensive commercial real estate, since our employees are already paying for it, their own homes. One thing about economies and life in general is that with the bad comes the good. New technology will of course be leading the way in this new post-corona future. Social media and internet companies will become true behemoths, if they aren't already. Companies like Facebook, Google, Amazon, in addition to the companies that support them, will allow people to congregate together while remaining socially distant. I personally predict that Tinder, Bumble, etc. will go through the roof as traditional meeting/dating grounds will become less popular. The implementation of 5G will become imperative to allow for this massive movement of data at speeds and volumes that were heretofore unheard of. And of course, the implementation of 5G will allow for businesses and technology that we can't even fathom yet. Some people predict that the implementation of 5G will allow for us to get away from our phones and will allow for other devices to truly help us be connected, allowing for a global Internet of Things that will automate our lives and bring us to goods and services that we never even imagined possible. I bet you never thought it was possible to even like a YouTube channel this much. If that is indeed the case, do yourself and the whole world a favor and like this video for the YouTube algorithm. And also subscribe to this channel and click the notification bell so that when new videos come out, you're the first to know. And be sure to drop us a comment letting us know what your thoughts are on the way forward for the economy. How are we going to be living in the post-COVID-19 world? Will it be a panacea or a post-apocalyptic nightmare? There's only one right answer. And remember, a goal without a plan is a wish. A goal with a plan and no action is a wish list. Take imperfect action on your business and personal finances using the power of technology. And we'll catch you next time. Peace.